So Faye has created a statement in regards to what has happened with this live, and Rachel has responded, or it looks like she has responded to Faye's statement. Hey guys, it's Rob Raleigh. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today. Back at it again. It is daily and consistent content, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Inject it. Consistent and persistent, whatever I say. Why is this all happening now? When, all of these girls, or boys, there weren't many issues between them in the villa, but it seems that it's erupting now. So many people have made statements on this. Many people have put out apology statements on this. I guess I'll get into that in a separate video. I want to just focus on what Faye has said. Yeah, okay, so she said, I wasn't going to say anything, but it's got to a point when I've got the experience to shed some light. I have seen the video and comments regarding the live 2 nights ago. Firstly, I do not agree with the comments and reactions regarding Rachel. Any woman would be upset with these comments, and I'm thinking of her during this time. I came out of Love Island to 25,000 Ofcom complaints, which has now developed into a paid ad 12 months later. I came out of Love Island to 25,000 Ofcom complaints, which has now developed into a paid ad 12 months later. I mean, if that doesn't tell you white privilege in a nutshell, then I don't know what does, because I don't know anybody who's black or brown who goes on a reality TV show, gets a severe amount of Ofcom complaints, and then can turn that into a developed paid ad. I mean, it just wouldn't run like that for somebody who's not white. I feel I can shed some light into this issue and how this affects mental health. I want to make it clear that I'm not diminishing Rachel's feelings, and I also want to make clear I do not condone my behavior on Love Island. It's okay not to like others and have your opinion when there are thousands of people and individuals, some of which were not on the live. It really does take effect on your mental health and your well-being. Some of which have had threats on themselves and family members. You really have to sit back and think, who's the real villain here? Someone that's made the comment and apologize, or those that have made disgusting comments against individuals and family members? I hope the individuals involved have learned from their comments, as I have, but I also hope that everyone learns that 2 wrongs do not make a right, and cancel culture is being taken too far. Okay, so let's break down this. She says she wants to make it clear that she's not diminishing Rachel's feelings. Pretty easy to understand that people who are sending threats to people's families are weird and wrong. I mean, that's just a given statement, to be honest with you, but that isn't the centerpiece of this conversation here. Death threats happen to a lot of people, and people who send stuff like that, they are only responsible for that. When it comes to sending death threats, that specific person who's writing something down and sending it off, like they are a grown person or kid or whatever. The same time, I do think, even though she's made it clear that she's not diminishing Rachel's feelings, I 100% feel like she is. When you have a white woman speaking on a black woman's experience, it always becomes very tricky and skeptical. You can't expect somebody who's white to really understand the linguistics of race because they've never really experienced racism. How can you not experience something and understand it? You simply don't. So she continues to say, 2 wrongs do not make a right, and cancel culture has been taken too far. Again, I don't understand why 2 wrongs don't make a right, because I don't know what Rachel has done wrong. I don't know if she's referring to Rachel. If she's not, and referring, maybe, I feel like this is just worded a little differently and unclear. There's not much clarity to this. It can be open to interpretation. So when it comes to 2 wrongs do not make a right, perhaps she's referring to the people in the live who are wrong, and also the people who are sending death threats they're both in the wrong, and therefore 2 of these wrongs don't make a right. But I don't think anybody's saying that both these people are wrong and not making a right. I don't think that is the case. I do also think that the nature of death threats and hashtag be kind and all of this can be weaponized and can be used against, because what is the sole person here who's been targeted by multiple people is Rachel. Yes, other people in the live are going to be called out, whether you were in the live involving in these conversations or not. If you are just part of this live in general, you are in this vicinity and you're associated with the comments or what people have said, and you will get recalled and damaged and whatever, and people will assume XYZ, and therefore there will be people public saying stuff. But this is largely about Rachel being berated in this, and I feel like that this has now become something else, where it's about what the public are doing, or the death threats and stuff like that, when the main focal point is Rachel and Rachel. That is the main focal point of this, and this isn't the first time that people have said stuff, because Chugs said in a paper that, you know, Rachel bedded Brad, and that's why she was crying and upset. And apparently Chugs got that rumor from somebody in the house who wasn't Brad, but somebody else who was running around saying that. So this is about Rachel, and I feel like, you know, misogynoir is very real, misogyny, and specifically against black women. And I do think that, you know, when you have somebody who's a white woman kind of, you know, speaking on this matter, you have to be very, very careful, because what you're doing here is kind of deviating from what Rachel went through and diminishing it, even that you don't intend to do so. And you've written that, you know, referring to the Ofcom complaints, referring to the death threats of other people receiving stuff, or the family members, and 2 wrongs that make a right. All of this is overhauling and covering what Rachel has gone through, even though you don't even intend to do so. I just think that this was just worded badly, and I think that it was just unnecessary, to be honest with you, because the main focal point is Rachel, because this is where this began from. Like, it should be easy to understand. Then you also have Rachel, who has responded to this, and she's not pleased. She says, I don't know whose statement she could be referring to. She could be referring to multiple girls who made statements, multiple boys who made statements. I don't know who's made statements, but people have made statements. I haven't read through them. She says, and this is where it becomes about everyone else, the most unaffected people. So that is what she's referring to. And, you know, this is what it is. Yes, people receive death threats, and they receive nonsense coming their way in the DMs, and people say dumb, crazy stuff. But this originally was not about you. Therefore, you are the most unaffected people. This was about Rachel and, you know, people in this live really berating her for no reason, randomly. And this isn't the first time this has happened to her. So I do think that sometimes the notion of death threats is weaponized and can be used to say, I won't take accountability because of my mental health, or I'm not going to take accountability because my mental health, you know, accountability is relinquished because of #BeKind. And I think that all of this and what it does is really overhaul and undermine the feelings of this woman, Rachel, who unfortunately went through this. We all know that people sending death threats to people is wrong. We all know that. Everybody knows that. That's common sense to know that. And sometimes I feel like that it becomes the main, that is being shoved into conversations every single minute. That becomes the most important factor, and Rachel is left here. And I think this is what happens. And I think that to speak and on this and kind of just move away with Rachel's feelings, and evidently Rachel is not pleased with these statements. She's not pleased with reading the stuff, because she says this is where it becomes about everyone else, the most unaffected people. She's just simply not. And I feel like these linguistics, the terminologies, this, you know, conversation, the flexibility of it, not a lot of people are going to understand it. They're not going to understand this conversation. But, you know, there is a race dynamic involved in this when you have somebody who's a white woman speaking on a black woman's, you know, stuff, and kind of, you know, deviating, even though you don't intend to deviate, you are speaking on it, and it's just unfortunate. Let's just say that, specifically when it comes to this statement, and it feels like people are really bothered by it. Someone says, what gives you the authority to speak on a black woman's experience? You don't experience misogynoir, and you never ever will. Faye should have kept that in her drafts. We didn't ask for an input that swayed away from everything Rachel was feeling. Why she made it about herself and the public, no idea. It's just distasteful. Yeah, I just feel like this needs to be deaded. This is probably the last ever video I'm making on the situation, because this is being like, I want us to focus on Love Island, not Love Island like season 7, guys. White women re-traumatizing and diminishing black women and their experiences, all in the name of main oppressor character like clockwork, someone said. There's a lot of opinions on this. I only care about other white women. Please remember, very few of them consider black women in their feminism, and this has been the case since the suffragettes. So, you know, when you speak of the suffragettes, they were a while ago. It's very deeply entrenched. And clearly Rachel has responded. The girl, Rachel herself, is not happy with this. So, yeah. Don't send any hate to Rachel. Don't send any hate to Faye. Don't send any hate to anybody else involved. I just feel like it's counterproductive. But, you know, this is what is currently going on, and people are just discussing it, I guess. And hopefully there's no more additional statements, guys, and everybody can just bed this situation. Really just bed it. Anyways, let me know your thoughts are, guys, when it comes to this video. Subscribe to the channel. Click that button. It is daily and consistent content. Subscribe, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.